Welcome to another episode of 60 Now What? I'm really excited about today's episode. It's a topic
Yeah,
that I hear a lot of people talk about,
yeah,
reconnecting with estranged family members or adult children.
mhm, yeah,
Super common topic, right?
yeah, yeah, it is. I think that, it's needed at this age because we're no longer dealing with, them as children, and we see them as children still, and I think we have to now delineate, "Okay, they're adults now. We've done our job. Let's let them grow up, and we're adult.
Yeah.
We're an adult mom, okay, an
Yeah,
adult parent, right? And that's a different role than mom. It's a different role. It's
it
adult
is.
mom. It's totally different. I had to learn that. It's not
It
can't
is.
helicopter me.
In some respect, it can be harder
It
because
is.
we have to realize that it took me a while to realize this. They were not mine.
Yeah.
They're not mine.
They are not
They're not
yours.
mine. And
They were
when I
lent
used
to
to,
us.
when they're little, we're trying to help them. Like we're almost making a lot
Yes.
of decisions for them. No, don't do
Mhm.
that. You're going to get hurt.
Yep.
We've made a decision for
Mhm.
them. Right. And so it took me some time to realize that my child is a grown adult. Like,
Yep.
who am I to tell him where he's going to get hurt? I mean, isn't he entitled to learn the same things I did on his
Mhm.
own? Who am I?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
hard. It's
It
very
is
hard to
hard.
learn that.
And then sometimes it comes with hurts. Maybe, during those times there was some hurtful things that happened.
Yeah,
Maybe it wasn't in your control. Maybe it was. But however it is, they're hurt, you're hurt, and there needs to be some reconnection there.
exactly. I mean, I think the
Hmm.
quickest way to drive a wedge is to continue to act like they're 8. Because,
Yes.
we have
Yes.
some accountability in that. I mean,
Yes.
they do as well.
Right.
But, we've got some accountability
Yeah.
with things for sure.
Absolutely. And taking accountability. And the most hurtful for me is to not acknowledge that you hurt them, not taking your
Mm.
part. That's
Yeah.
part of the accountability. If there was a hurt or wound or something,
Mm.
not taking accountability, stop, don't make an excuse. I've learned that. And that
Yeah.
wasn't to Dr. Phil's. I love Dr. Phil. I was doing that before. Yes, I did that, and take accountability. Now, what can we do moving forward if there was some pain,
Right.
involved in the reason why you have to reconnect with them or need to reconnect with them? That's important.
Yeah.
Accountability on both sides, what we're both talking about.
I mean, because essentially the estrangement has happened because there has been either some difficulty, difference of opinion, action, something
Yeah,
that both parties didn't approve of, right? Causes
yeah,
essentially the estrangement. So sometimes you just can't do anything about it, and you have to the let them theory, right? You have to
yeah,
let people be themselves and have
right.
their own journey. And that's
Yeah.
very difficult when you love and you care and you want what's best for someone.
Hmm.
You have to realize that it's not your job to want what's best for anyone.
No, and it's
There's no
their journey.
control.
It is not your
It
journey.
is.
But no, I've heard this out of my mother's mouth. I went through this, or you've even heard it maybe. I walked 10 miles to school. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not the same time
Yeah.
now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stories like that. And you got to realize they're their own individual. They are not you. They may take some patterns, they may take some looks, may take some, attitude after you. They are not
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
that's what I think the biggest realization is when you get to this age. And then when you're trying to build a relationship, they're not you. They're just not
Right.
you. They're not going to make the same decisions you
Right.
make. And
Right.
I think that's what becomes the wedge.
Yes,
That's what becomes the wedge,
it does.
as when we don't realize that.
Yeah, allowing somebody to be their very own individual
Yes.
person is very difficult for a lot of people because they feel, and with good intentions, right? They
Yeah.
feel like they've got information that will make their life better.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, somebody making this big, beautiful salad, and somebody, you're insisting you can only enjoy the salad if there's blue cheese dressing on it.
Right.
Another person is like, but I don't like
I
blue
don't
cheese.
like
Yes,
blue
it
cheese.
doesn't matter what you like. I know what's best for this salad.
Yes, I know what's
You know?
best for it. That reminds me of a Archie Bunker and and Mike situation.
Yeah, he did.
Always, no, you got to do it this way,
Yeah.
meathead, old meathead.
Yeah.
And then too, sis, we're 60 and we carry around decades of silence, like this. We just got vocal maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Right. 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 Yeah, true. True.
Right? So we're carrying around, we gotta tell them, we gotta tell them. Yeah.
Exactly. It's hard. It's really hard. And
Yeah.
I think that, when I talk to so many people that I hear this so much. My son doesn't talk to me, my daughter doesn't talk to me, my mother doesn't talk to me, my grandmother
Right.
doesn't talk to me, my brother. I mean, I hear it constantly. And it's been a learning experience for me as well that um I don't know everything. I know
That's
that's all I know
that's it.
is
That's
me.
it.
So being
That's it.
able to love people where they are.
That's it. And you gotta learn to let it go. Let that
Yeah.
be.
y-
Let it be.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about reconciling. We're not forcing anybody
Right.
to reconcile.
Right.
We're not doing, we're
Right.
talking about your own mainstay of peace,
Your help?
and your health.
Yeah.
And if you want to connect, listen, it's up to you on how much you want to take accountability for, how
Mm-hmm.
much you want to fix, and
Right.
why you want to do it.
Right.
That's a good one. Is
Right.
why you want to do it.
I
Is it
love the
because
why.
you want to be right?
Yeah.
Or is it because I want to be able to see my grandkids and all that stuff in the middle don't matter anymore?
Exactly. 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 Yeah. I mean,
You know?
getting really, really getting clear on that.
Yes.
What do I lose?
Yeah.
You know?
What do you lose and what could you gain? So what? The fight was 40 years ago. Years.
Yeah.
If we lived our lives like today we're gonna die,
Yep.
what will we do differently?
Yep. Exactly.
Every second, what will we do differently? And that's the healing part to what woke me up is if I died today, if at 9 o'clock tonight it was ending, I'm out of here, what would I do today?
Yep. Right.
Don't you best believe, and I think I told you this story. When I had the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
and they let us know I had about 20% to live, and I told my daughter I couldn't even talk. I had to write it down. I said, "I want you to go get everybody on this
Yeah.
list." Remember, I told you
Yeah.
that. That is the urgency of what we're talking about today.
Right.
The fact that we don't forget the middle stuff. Forget the noise that you
Right.
forget it.
Right.
Because if they stole something, that was how many years ago? If they talked about you bad, they talked
Yeah.
about it. It's over. It's talked. It's
Yeah.
past tense. All of it's past tense. How can we get over this now? Ha-
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
I
need
mean,
to
because
do that.
we're talking about human beings, not sainthood.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Every one of us collectively, every single one of us
Right.
has hurt somebody at some point in
Yes.
time. Whether
All
it was
have.
intentional or with malice is
Yeah.
indisputable because we're human beings and we have feelings. We're
Mhm.
not AI and robots, right?
That's
So
right. That's
even if
right.
there's no, and I learned this, I wish I could remember the book that I read about this, but it was really encouraging that sometimes there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of discord within families and words are never able to be said because somebody dies and now the other person is left with that. How can you avoid something like that if there
Right.
is no reconciliation possible? And the answer was write a letter.
Yep.
It's never going to get sent, but
Right.
write the letter and get it out.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
very
you said it,
helpful.
Ann. It's out. Get it out.
Yeah,
We
get it
hold
out.
so much regret, mm, resentment in.
Yes.
And we don't say it. We don't say,
Right.
"I'm mad at you." I said that to somebody the other day. "I'm really mad at you." They looked at me, "Really? I would have never guessed." I said, "Well, I'm telling you." We don't ever say those
Yeah.
things. We hold it in, and that's a problem. We have those life things like divorce, addiction,
Yeah.
childhood
Yeah.
trauma, different beliefs, political issues, religion, boundaries, unspoken things, resentments, misunderstandings. We have those. That's life.
Yeah.
But the beauty
Exactly.
of it is the ability to let it out.
Right.
Beautiful. Like to let it out in a way that it changes things. And we have that choice.
Yeah.
We have that choice.
Right. It's healthy, versus like
Mhm,
I feel like sometimes and I've done this, in my younger
mhm.
years, I ran around like I was an emotional, attorney, and all I was doing was building a case against somebody emotionally on
Right.
why they did me wrong. I learned through, reading I love to read relationship books, and I love to read anything to do with people, learning how to ask what was my role in it.
Yeah, exactly. You said
What
it,
was
girl.
my role in it? Because there
That's it.
always is.
Yes, you said it. No matter
Yeah.
all those conditions that I just talked about, what was your role in it?
Always is. Whenever there's discord and someone's not talking, we might sit there and go, I
Yep.
didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Did.
Exactly. Take
It
accountability.
could
All it takes.
perception. Might just be perception. It might not have
Yes.
been an
Yes.
act of malice. It could have been
Yes.
perception, right?
Yes.
That was partially to blame for the discord. But
Absolutely.
nonetheless, there's always two when it
Yep.
comes to this. So
Yep.
it's really unfortunate. I heard a lot. I remember the first time that I ever heard one of my adult friends say that she said, I will never talk to my son again. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, like it was really, really emotionally charged. And it was because of politics. And I sat there and went, my God, grandchildren and everything involved in this. And I just
Yeah.
felt so incredibly sad for them
Yeah.
all.
She's got to eat those words because there is no way.
So sad. I'll never know what happened.
Yeah.
I never
That was just there for you, sister.
it was but there's so many reasons that people now do
Absolutely.
have this
Absolutely.
disconnection. Could that be a part like we did last week? We did an episode on loneliness. And
Yeah.
so is there any kind of correlation between some of the
Absolutely.
things?
And I think what we as adults don't remember or don't understand is that, and I learned this from my kids, a situation happened and every one of them had a different view on it. Adult children carry childhood memories in their own perspective.
Sure they do. They all had
And
a different
so
mother.
right. So you could say, let's just say it's an orange. I got this orange and I'm giving everybody a piece, right? You think you're doing the right thing by giving everybody a piece of it. One is saying, well, I got the small piece. I asked first, right? Somebody could say, I asked first. And then the other one could say, well, why am I always last?
Yeah. Yep.
Those are three different perspectives.
Yep.
You know what I started doing? Buying everybody an orange. You're not getting a piece of mine. So that,
Oh.
do you understand? And I think that, like when I'm talking to them now, do you guys understand what I'm saying? So if I'm talking to them in group or, do you understand what I'm saying? And they're like, I think so. And then every time they all have a different perspective. And I said,
Such a
no, this is
great
what I meant,
example.
And
Yeah.
so I think as adult parents, we don't, I guess we don't remember it that way. Like we don't remember, oh, well, we didn't expect them to carry it that way. Well, that's still okay, but they carry it that way.
Right.
They understand it that way. So that's okay. But that if they believe that, let them. Okay. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. You saw it this way. And
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that. Just saying something I didn't think of it like that relieves the tension. Not like, no, that's not what I said. Every time you go back, you're now re-wounding. Just think about
God,
sticking
yeah.
somebody with a knife in the same hole. Just punching. You're re-wounding them over and over again. So that's what we don't want to do. We don't want you to do that.
Imagine how I love that. I love that analogy of the orange because
Mm,
you gave a really good example of how
yeah,
people can perceive things
yeah.
differently, even when we're all in the same room and collectively we
Mhm.
know that's not what happened. That's our perspective.
Yeah.
But if we can learn to acknowledge and validate, to say,
Mhm.
wow, you know what, Edna, so I love that you shared that story. And I think what I heard you say, and then
Right.
that way, if I don't have
Yes.
it the way you intended it, you can clarify and say, well,
There
actually,
you go.
and I was meaning this. Now, that's two adult people having a conversation about a
Mhm.
topic of understanding. It's not a
Yes.
topic of
Yes.
wrong leading to
Yes.
estrangement. It's understanding,
Right. Right.
and it takes
Yes.
two. It would
It
be an
does.
effort for both of us.
Yes, exactly.
And that's so important.
Now on the now on the adult children's side, my son always thought that I was a superhero. They gotta realize I wasn't, I was human. And then I had my own traumas. I'm raising you and have my own traumas, you first before the traumas, and trying to keep those at bay while while I'm trying to raise you, right? They don't realize that. And then some parents are genuinely my daughter, they'll get around people and we're talking and whatever. Mommy used to burn up everything. Do you understand? I knew nothing about cooking because my mother never taught me to cook. She knew how to cook, but she never took time to teach any of us.
Yeah.
So you were my learning board. So yeah, you got burnt rice. Yeah, you got burnt toast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I'm doing the best that I could with what I knew.
Right.
And that's the adult child has to remember that. They still are remembering back then too.
Right.
It's like we are, the adult children do the same exact thing. Do the same
Yeah.
exact thing. They're doing it.
Right, right, right. I think that ultimately when we talk about estrangement and whether
Yeah.
it could be estrangement from a spouse,
Yeah.
a child, a sibling, it could be a best friend.
Anybody.
But I think that we have to understand in order for estrangement to happen, some
Hmm.
part of us cared.
Yeah.
Some part of us cared, and we can only have
Yes.
hurt if there once was a reason. Right now, we get to the part where it's like, okay, well, why am I hurt? What
Hmm.
was it that happened that I am hurt?
Yeah.
Or perhaps I'm the one that doesn't believe that anything is wrong and the
Right.
other person shouldn't
Right.
be this way, right?
Yeah.
There's still hurt under
Yeah.
anger.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that when we sometimes things just can't be solved, right? There are
Yeah.
people that come into our lives, and it
Hmm.
could be
Right.
family, that are meant to be there for a season or a reason.
That's right.
They're not to be meant to be there for
Sometimes this happens
eternity.
and sometimes it
So
doesn't.
it was just a great lesson to be learned,
Hmm.
and it's never going to come back to the way that it was. What are we taking from that? You
Yeah.
know, are we
Exactly.
taking anger and resentment and hurting
Yeah.
ourselves and causing all different kinds of illnesses within our
Yeah.
body?
Well, yeah. And
Or
for other people and for whoever you have
100%.
the other person, you're
Yeah.
putting extra on them.
Right.
So,
Right.
don't think it that you're if you're going downhill or if there's no reconciliation. We're not saying it's sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't. However, healing is what we're talking about right now
Right.
within yourself.
Right.
That you're accepting, number one, that maybe it's not going to happen, right? But I've taken all the necessary steps to make sure that I have ownership and responsibility on what
Right.
I did and to
Right.
clear that slate and to bring
Exactly.
forgiveness to yourself. That's healing. We're talking about healing. We're not
100%.
talking about the reconciliation because it may not happen.
Right.
We're talking about healing yourself and then setting those boundaries. Stay into those boundaries healthy way. Not saying, "Oh, well, I'm not going to talk to them." That's not a boundary.
Right.
That's a punishment.
Right.
It's a
Right.
punishment. It's two
Right.
different things.
Correct.
A boundary means we're gonna have this conversation, but we're not gonna yell at each other.
Right.
And the minute that you do, I'm gonna get up and get out because we
Right.
don't want to. Those are boundaries. We're not gonna curse at each other. Those are
Yeah.
boundaries. We can have this conversation. We need to talk, not yell. Those are
Yeah.
boundaries. So,
Yeah.
you can let out what you want, and that's fine, but don't beat me up doing it. Those are
Right.
healthy boundaries if you want to go that route of reconciliation.
Yeah.
And
And
then
being
you learn
mindful
to
of the
let go.
others.
Let
Look at
go without reconnecting.
and that's okay,
It's
it really
okay.
is. I think that sometimes we don't realize the power of our energy that we put out.
Yeah,
If we're
yes,
having some
that's the
difficulty
thing.
with somebody, it doesn't mean that we need to share that with the
Nope,
world.
nope.
You're bringing life, you're adding legs to a monster by
Yes,
doing that. And the
exactly.
person that you're hurting is you.
Yeah,
I think that it's a very difficult topic. It really is a
yeah,
tough
it
one because
is.
there's no
It
right or
is.
wrong. There's
Mm-mm,
no right or wrong. It's not
mm-mm.
about that. It's
No,
about how do you want to feel when you
yeah,
open your eyes tomorrow morning? Do you want to feel more at peace or more at angst? Because
yeah,
it is a choice.
yeah. And
It,
closure doesn't always happen, and it's overrated.
it's really that's such
It's
a
overrated. Yeah,
That's a 6-hour long podcast closure, really, you
it's
know what I
overrated.
mean? And it's not even about forgiveness, it's about
No,
can
it
can
doesn't
I
even
come
require
to the
anybody's
table.
participation. It doesn't.
Right. They come to the table and say, "I'm really hurt and I miss you." Or do we say, "I need to protect my peace and I no
Yeah,
longer can have you in my life."
yes.
That's a decision too, and that's
Right.
okay. But make
Yes.
it.
And you can go back to them. I have a situation now. You can call them up and say, "Hey, I will only engage with you when you're being truthful with me.
Mm.
Can't take the shenanigans. That's not my bandwidth anymore. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you gotta
Yeah.
understand that they don't need to participate, but you need to set that boundary, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Protecting your peace. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's really I really struggle with this for people because I find it really sad the pain that goes on, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that, you know, the start would be it's like when you make amends, right? So
Mhm.
like who do I need to make amends to? Like what you did when you ended up in that car accident. You're like,
Yeah.
there's some people that it's really important to me that I make some amends to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we were, I love that example. If we were sitting on our deathbed right now, is there anybody we would make amends to?
Yeah.
Is don't wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
You know, when people reach out, take your time. That's your boundary. Take your time that you're not angry anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that it's okay to talk to them. You don't have to, you know, people want to rush into reconnecting, but you gotta you gotta give yourself some and people say this grace, but I'm gonna say you gotta give yourself some time.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
to breathe and you have to want it to work. You just gotta want it to work so
Right.
that you're because if you feel like there's a knot in your throat every time you talk about the person, that's something you have to release.
Yeah. Oh, I
You
love
feel
that. Yeah.
yeah, if you feel that, man, it's time to have that conversation, and you need to, you know, listen more than speak. That's what I find is so
Yeah.
good. It's like, okay, I'm listening. If it's you that has to say something, it shouldn't be say, "Well, you did." It's this is what I take accountability
Mm.
for. Yeah, I
Right.
left you. I left you, and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, there's no excuse. I'm not even go that route. Yes, I left you,
Right.
but what can
Right.
I do now to take steps to have a relationship with you now?
Right. Right.
Forget
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
stuff. Those 2 sentences alone open doors.
For sure.
Yes, they may wanna fuss a little bit and get it out of them because they feel the same way. They got this thing
Yeah.
sitting on their chest like, "Oh my gosh," you know? Just to
Right.
think about, you know, you know, anything, your sibling, maybe a sibling you had an argument with, maybe it's your cousin or your mother or your father or your you know, what or anybody, a relationship that you had, you have to if it's sitting on you, it's weighing on you, get
Yeah.
it out because it's gonna weigh on you, and guess what? It's gonna turn your body against itself because when it sits there, that energy sits there,
Yeah.
your body thinks it's an enemy. So
Yeah.
guess what? It starts acting up, and it turns it into
Legitimately.
something that you don't want it to be. So,
Legitimately, yeah.
you know, be as healthy as you possibly can because this is healing for you.
Mhm.
Huh?
Right, right. Yeah, and if it's not, you know, if reconciliation is just not possible, then you know what? Write the letter and work
Write
on
the letter.
you. Get yourself to a state of
Write
mind
the letter.
that's really conducive to the direction you wanna go in. I mean,
Right.
sadly enough, there are some people that really don't understand they have
Yeah.
that choice. They feel
Right.
like they need this. This is
Yeah.
always going to be a weight on their shoulders, and
Yep.
it truly doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to
You
be.
know, it's really funny. I used to do this example to myself. I used to say if I had a struggle with a family member or somebody, I would say, "All right, is this person somebody that if I were to meet and they weren't related to me, that I would still want to have a deep relationship with?"
Boom, boom.
And if
There you
the
go.
answer is no,
Boom.
why
There you
am I
go.
struggling?
What are you're struggling with the invisible contract. Blood
Exactly.
is
Love
water.
that. I
Blood
mean,
is thicker than water. That's what you skip. Boom.
that's right. I
Yeah.
mean, we're human, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not that we don't love people that we have a blood relationship with on a deep level, but we can recognize that we are one being and they are another being. And just because there's some blood shared doesn't mean that those two
Mm-mm.
beings must, you know,
Yep.
coincide together for a lifelong of bliss. It just
Absolutely.
sometimes just doesn't happen like that. And
Yeah.
that's okay, you know?
You know what you just did, Ann? You just gave us a segment. Now what? You just
Yeah.
gave us the first was number one. Write the letter.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
week's challenge: write the letter. Write the letter.
Right.
Now
Definitely
what?
write the letter.
Write the letter.
Exactly. Get it out.
Get it out. That's
Yep.
it.
Yep. You don't have to mail it, but I tell you what, you will be
It will
amazed
be
how
added.
different you feel. Yeah.
Yes,
Good
yes,
stuff. Good
yes.
stuff.
And if you wanna move forward or you wanna reconcile, pray, meditate, reflect, whatever you gotta do before acting. Before.
Mm,
After. Before. Okay?
good. Good advice.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, and with a clear conscience and with
Yes.
your best intentions in front of you.
Yes.
I love
And I
that.
think that's where our third one comes in when we talked about why. Why you're doing this.
Yeah.
Whether you're seeking peace or simply proving you're right. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Figure
Why is
that
this
out
important to
before.
you?
Yeah.
Why is this important to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are
Figure it
fantastic
out.
questions. Yeah, we're gonna make sure that's in the worksheet because
Yep.
it's really this is the great work.
Yeah.
This is what whenever we use that phrase doing the work, this is the good stuff.
Good stuff. It's the good
This is
stuff.
the good stuff. Yeah,
It
I love
is.
this. I love this. Yeah, and I mean, keep the comments coming. Feel
Yes,
free.
please
You can
do.
always
Please do.
instant message us if you something on your mind about this topic. Something's very difficult, and you feel called to
Yes,
share it with somebody. You can certainly send a direct message and not have to air it to the world.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're here
Uh,
for you.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yes. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye now.
Bye bye.